So I wanted to share with you a market update as to what's taking place both locally and what projections are on a national level. So locally, we're going to be talking about Pierce County, what's taken place in the last month in comparison to prior months and year. And on a national level, we're going to see what are expert analysts projecting is going to take place in the real estate market as a whole moving forward. So diving right in here, we can see in Pierce County, we have, we kind of peaked our market here and we've come down. Market has cooled for about the last 6 months or so. And we're at a current median sale price of $510,000. And that does represent growth since this time last year. Not much, about 2%. 2% appreciation since last year. Now, historically, to give you some context, a normal market, if we go all the way back to World War II, it represents about 5% of appreciation per year. That's the average. You'll hear anywhere from 3 to 5% is what real estate will appreciate on average. The longer you own it for, the more likely that number is what it's going to average out to. So over the last couple of years, we have seen appreciation rates taking place in 20% plus, which has just been completely insane. So we are seeing things cool, certainly. And the goal here is actually to get it to a more stable market. We're coming out of what was a white hot market, very much so favoring sellers. We saw rapid growth taking place. And now the goal is to create something more sustainable. So diving in here, we can see the median list price, the sale price. We're still getting, on average, in Pierce County, over 100% of the list price. The key there is actually being listed at the appropriate price. I think right now there's more of a disconnect than ever, where we're seeing sellers in the marketplace that are saying they're having a hard time grasping reality right now that the market isn't what it was 6-12 months ago, and that the value of their home is actually less than what it was in the very recent past. And so as we see that, we're seeing more and more homes. There's this gap of homes that are available and what buyers are willing to pay. And yet the homes that are actually selling are doing so 100.4% of list price. So that's really good. And there are still a lot of homes selling given the amount of inventory. Time frame wise, we're looking at 7 days on the market, which is still insanely fast. So that's the median here in Pierce County. Not unusual at all right now to see homes on the market for 30 days, 45 days. So we're seeing more and more of that, whereas 6 to 12 months ago, that was unheard of for a home to last longer than maybe 2 weeks. Now look at this, the number of pending sales. This graph here represents a 5-year history, and the number of pending sales in November here that we just recently wrapped up was 715 pendings. And when I say pending, that means buyers and sellers coming together. They haven't officially closed on a transaction, but they did agree into a contract that they're going to do a transaction together. So the number of pending sales is down 46% since this same time last year. So it's a pretty significant drop. And yet it's still, as you can see, this is 5 years of being a really hot market. We're at the lowest it's been, the number of pending transactions right now. And it's not abnormal. When we look at the number of homes for sale, this is the good news, guys. So we are seeing more inventory coming to the market. So inventory is up 186%. And when we look at that, it's this red graph here represents the number of homes for sale. And look at this, how the green is the homes that have actually sold. Number of sales has dropped by 41%. This again is 5-year history. For this window of time here, this was really COVID, where it just didn't make any sense how insanely white hot our market was, because we saw that there were more homes selling than there were for sale, right? How does that inverse even actually happen like that? So now this is getting to get us closer on track to a more normal market here. So we can see great news for buyers that there are some more options coming available than in the recent couple of years here. And yet we are seeing the number of sales has dropped there. So we're going to dive into supply and demand here. And one of the things here is I want you to recognize that the neutral market just kind of goes along with, appreciates with inflation. And it's typically 6 to 7 months. If there's less than that, then it's considered a seller's market. If there's more, then it's a buyer's market, and we see home prices depreciating. Right now, we're in this weird space where we've seen interest rates double, more than double, within a 12-month calendar year, which has never happened before. So we're going to dive more into that here momentarily. But right now, when we look at Pierce County specifically, we can see we're at only 2.2 months worth of inventory. So that still represents a seller's market, very much so. And it's, when we're hearing headlines and a lot of things that might sound frightening, I want you to have some context. So this is the highest amount of inventory we've had in the last 5 years. And yet the last 5 years has been probably the hottest real estate market we've ever seen as well. So historically, a balanced market where it doesn't favor buyers or sellers, it's just a neutral balanced market, represents 6 months of inventory. We've got a long ways to go from being there. And the other part of this is, I want to make sure to clarify this. A lot of people get this months of inventory absorption rate confused with days on market. So this doesn't mean that it takes 2.2 months for a home to sell. What this represents is that if no more homes were to come on the market from this point forward, then it would take based on the rate at which homes are currently selling, it would take 2.2 months for all of the homes in Pierce County to be completely sold out. So that's what we're measuring when we look at months of inventory on the market. Okay, so let's dive into interest rates. That is really, that's the big story that's going on right now. For the first time in history, we've seen interest rates more than double. They started at the beginning of this year at like high 2s, 3%, and now we're more around the 7% range. And it's like, holy cow, that's a drastic increase that we've never seen them spike up. And the whole reason for it is because inflation has gone out of control. And so the Fed is working on increasing those interest rates in efforts of really getting that to get under control and slow the amount of appreciation we're seeing in real estate by making the money cost more. So as we dive into this, look at this. This is a history of interest rates, how it follows the 10-year Treasury yield. So the 10-year Treasury yield, you can see, is this blue line here. And the green line represents the 30-year mortgage interest rates. You can see they're almost identical. The average difference between the 10-year Treasury yield and what a 30-year mortgage rate is, on average, is about 1.7. So you can see that's been pretty consistent over time. Now, as we go to this year, the last 12 months, this is what the 10-year Treasury has done. As of December 1st, 3.51%. So it's a little interesting as we play into this. So look at this. If we add that usual, from 2000 to 2021, we can see that there's this 3.49 for the 10-year, and then add that average 1.79 mortgage rate now becomes 5.28. Now, if we look at if that were a normal situation, 3.7 current for the 10-year Treasury, and then mortgage rate go to 1.79. I'm sorry, add the 1.79, and that would put you at a 5.49 interest rate. So it's really interesting as we're looking at this, but in actuality, we're more in that 6.5%, 7% range. So why is there so much more of a spread right now than usual? And I'm going to bring on, tomorrow I'll be doing another one of these with a real interest rate guru that'll be able to dive into the complexities of what we're seeing in the market right now. This certainly goes beyond my understanding. There's a lot of factors that play into this, but right now, from what I'm seeing, it seems that the the lenders as a whole are giving themselves a cushion because there's so much volatility right now. And so they don't want to potentially not have enough cushion and be loaning at rates that are too low. And right now, we got some good news as of this morning that we'll dive into more probably tomorrow, that inflation is cooling. So that report finally came out this morning, and it's ahead of what they were planning for the CPI, I want to say. And so that's all good information that's going to help interest rates, stay in a more reasonable rate for us. The other part of it is when we look at what are people projecting tomorrow. By the way, we're supposed to hear what Jerome Powell decides to do with the interest rate. He's going to hike it again another 0.5%, or what? But I think that's already built into these interest rates that we're looking at. So the lenders are building that in, if that makes sense. So they're planning ahead of time for that sort of thing. Now, what are people projecting for the future? If we look at, the analysts, people way smarter than myself, saying, what are they all thinking? Let's look at the projections here. We can see for Freddie Mac, breaking it down by quarter, Fannie Mae, Master Builder Association, National Association of Realtors. If we average them all out for the first quarter of the coming year, it's looking at 6.58% are the projections. What will it actually be? Who knows? Second quarter, 6.35, so cooling a little bit, then lowering down to 6.2, and then ending the year of 2023 at 6%. So that's an average of, each of these projections. Now, when we look at what does that mean for home prices, what are the projections for that nationally? Again, we can see an assortment of different opinions from different experts and analysts, ranging from people think on a national level, we're going to see 5.4% appreciation take place last year. This seems to be the more optimistic opinion. And then on the more negative aspect, it would be negative 5.1% appreciation decline in values. So if we average these all out, it's essentially kind of just, not really seeing any movement up or down. Again, nobody knows for sure, but these are what the experts are projecting, and I want to share with you some insights here. Now, if we look at what are the big banks projecting, this is really interesting. The big banks are actually much more negative thinking in what they expect moving forward. So anywhere from -3 to -10% in values across the country in real estate. Now, what's interesting about the big banks compared to a lot of the other organizations that we're looking at just a moment ago, these big banks, they have data about new home build and construction, things of what they're lending on there that they factor into it too. So I'm not sure how exactly that might play into it all. But again, my goal here is I wanted to just share with you what are the people that have a whole lot of data and are paid to really do a lot of analysis on this. What are they projecting? One thing that they all really kind of agree on, though, whether they're optimistic or thinking more negative on what the next year holds, is that this is not going to be a long-lasting recession, so to speak. Nothing like what we saw from locally here in Pierce County. We peaked in the summer of 2007, I think it was, and then we fell all the way to 2012 is when we bottomed out. That was a long, painful dive. Now, what the people are projecting moving forward, they can all kind of agree on 2023, probably not going to be an amazing year in real estate. We might see a decline in values, and yet the next year, 2024, is expected to be a normal market. So again, historically, we're into that 3 to 5 range appreciation per year. That's a normal, stable market. So that's actually good news when we look at it that way. This year we're in or about to enter is going to be a little weird. Now, here's something, we're also seeing that rents nationally as well as locally are softening. So that's something, I can tell you, having rental properties of my own, that we've experienced that ourselves, and talked with local property managers who have verified the same thing. And then on a national level, there's reports saying that what people are getting in rent is cooled. Historically, though, you can see rents are only going to go up over time. There may be little teeny blips here and there where we see a little short, brief decline in what is charged for rents. But overall, this is going all the way back to 1988 to present time, what rents have done. And so I show this to you because I want to remind you that real estate is a wealth building tool, and buying a home continues to beat the alternative of renting. I hear a lot of people saying, there's no way I would pay 6 or 7% interest on a mortgage loan. Well, factor it in this. If you're currently renting, then you're actually paying 100% interest because you don't get any of that money back. That doesn't go towards anything. Home ownership actually provides a ton of tax benefits for you. Plus, you get the appreciation of that home growing in value over time. So I end this with just reminding all of you, the headlines tend to terrify more than they do clarify. So take it with a grain of salt. And remember, it's a fool's game to wait and try to time the market. It's been said that it's better to have time in the market than trying to time the market in general. So again, time in the market more so than timing the market. And what do we mean by that? It's time in the market is buy a home, own it for long term, reap the rewards, both personally and financially, of that home ownership, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to wait another year, I'm going to wait 2 more years, I'm going to wait 3 more years. I think we all probably know that person, or many people that have just continually given the market being the excuse of why they're not taking action yet. They're waiting for the right time. And decades can pass waiting for the right time. And I have yet to drive past a single house where my dad would drive by and say, boy, I'm sure glad I didn't buy that place 30 years ago. That house doesn't exist. So I just want to remind you of that. Don't get caught up too much in the headlines that are, made to terrify and sell. Focus on building your wealth and making smart financial decisions. So if we can be a resource to you, you have specific real estate goals this year or maybe further out, and we can help you to turn that into an actual plan of action, reach out. That's what we are here for. We appreciate you guys, and have an awesome day.